Hey everybody, it's the Trout, and welcome to another episode of the Trout Show. Thank you so much for stopping by. I've been a musician and a guitarist for decades, and I've listened to a lot of great guitar players over that time. And if you're like me, you can listen to music, whether it's on the radio or it's on streaming or wherever it is, and you listen to a guitar player start playing it, and you immediately recognize that player. Because all individual players have their individual tones, whether it's Clapton, whether it's Hendrix, whether it's Jeff Beck, whether it's Jimmy Page. Well, in this case, it happens to be one of my favorite guitarists, Eric Johnson. Now, Eric sat down with me along with the great producer, John McDermott. Recently, they talked to me about the Experience Hendrix tour, which is Eric's going to be involved with. That comes up later this year. And as I talked to them and I talked to Eric, I thought, you know what? Why don't we ask Eric about where did he develop his tone? Oh, by the way, if you want to watch that episode, it's right up here. You can click when this video's over, and hopefully you can see the whole interview about the Hendrix tour. Well, I said to Eric, where did you develop your tone? And he talks about it, and he tells me how he develops it. I was kind of surprised, and you may be too, when you hear his answer. So that's all this video is about. It's not very long, but I wanted you to hear what Eric had to say, because if you're one of those guys that listens to people and go, how do they get that tone? This is where you can find it from Eric Johnson. Oh, and as a extra question, I asked Eric how long it really took him to write the Grammy Award-winning song, Cliffs of Dover. You might be surprised to hear the answer. So up next, the great Eric Johnson talking about how he develops his tone and how, well, is there such thing as a perfect tone? Sit back and enjoy it on this episode of The Trout Show. That's next. When I hear you play, I mean, it's just something, and I know everybody plays. I can hear Clapton playing all this stuff, but you have your own tone. And I mean, to me, it all
Yeah.
started with the, White Cliffs of Dover song, but how did you come up with that?
Well, it's really just a combination of different things you like. And if you look behind the curtain of what comprises somebody's sound or what comprises my sound, you can see it's not that my sound is it's not that much really of a mystery. It's just I like the that really heavy saturated fuzz of Jimi Hendrix. I love the clean tones of Jimi Hendrix, the clean tones of Keith Richards. I love the really woman tone thing that Eric Clapton did, the early Cream. And then I love steel guitar players to get that real bouncy, thick tone, right? And then I love a lot of the John McLaughlin stuff where it kind of
Oh,
some of his early John McLaughlin stuff almost sounds a little bit like Eric Clapton's tone, but with more gain. So,
hmm
so if you, all the people I just mentioned, if you put that all, if you amalgamated all that, then you really just have me. It's not really a mystery. It's just the people you like, and you create your own recipe.
Do you think that anybody ever finds the ultimate tone? I've read stories about people they keep looking for their tone, and it's like I
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah,
I,
well, and
I
I think musicians have always done that. I mean, you look at all the sax players from the 40s, and they all talk about that, and they're searching for the right reed, and they're working on it's a sound thing, because there is something about, you hear a sound and it's like it either pulls you in, or you go, you stand back 20 feet away. And sometimes when you stand back, they can be like magnificent players, but if the sound doesn't allure you, you just sit back with your mentally and go, God, they're really great. But if it's a sound that pulls you in, it's not even a mental thing anymore. It's an invitation into this spiritual connection thing, like when Wes Montgomery plays three notes and it's all
yeah.
over, or when Stevie Wonder sings, or when Jimi Hendrix, I mean, like that. It's enough inspiration to last a lifetime when somebody has that above that the that higher atmosphere, like May This Be Love, and that solo comes in. It's like, how can you not love the way electric guitar sounds? So you fall in love with this ideal that's so beautiful, and that becomes your benchmark or your mountaintop. And then you spend a lot of time going, because you've been to the mountaintop sonically, so you have a point of reference of how beautiful it can be. And it's hard not to keep searching for that, because otherwise it can just be like an appliance and you can marvel at somebody's playing, but it's not quite the same invitation into that realm, you know.
When I heard Cliffs of Dover, and I have people on here that can play it, and I'm always going, "You really can play that?"
Oh.
And all right. So my last question for you though is, did it really only take you 5 minutes to write that song?
Yeah, it took me yeah, it was a really quick song.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
I think sometimes that happens, the just bursts of inspiration,